back to you, Girish.
Let's wait for a few minutes. So, you see that Sankhya. Now, the Gita, we are into the second chapter. Here comes Brandy. Where is Brandy? No, we lost him. So, you see that when we do not understand the context, what is written in these texts, and then then those teachers cannot guide you how it should be applied in daily life. I have to understand the very context. So that is what these teachings are. Brandy is here. How are you, Brandy? Thumbs up. I have to understand what it means actually, from where it originated. Thumbs up.
It's better than this.
But why? So that is the journey of the entire Eastern wisdom. They ask why. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwarah, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So, Gita, couple of lessons before, we understood in the times of stress and suffering. Oh, everyone has come. Very good. So, in times of the stress and the suffering, we should not take a decision in haste, in reaction, with a blame. Now the time has come to part with, to take a divorce. I'm done with. This is the crazy mind. So what Krishna says in the first chapter, it is known as Vishad Yoga. How come suffering can be a yoga? So we covered that couple of points. What is that? Simple meaning. Suffering is yoga provided I'm experiencing the suffering, but I want to know what I want to know. I want to know why suffering is there, how to bring an end to the suffering. No, I also do not understand you. So, so, so Google Assistant. Do you see that? Do you see the uh, beauty of this first chapter? That is why Gita is so famous. So we have covered that. So we should not rationalize the problem. We should see the problem as it is, and then we say to intellect, come on, my friend, let me know what solutions I have. There, the journey, that is what we have understood. So, Sankhya Yoga, the second chapter, is very interesting. So, once we understand the second chapter, I'll take a couple of sessions on the second chapter. Why? Because it gives you a fairly rational understanding, clarity in your life. You may not be telling me what problems you have in your life, but by learning these verses, you will find out, oh, there is a way. And if even 5% of your life changes, then my gossip proves to be worth. Otherwise, this is just a gossip. Just a gossip. So, the name of this chapter is known as Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya. It is known as Sankhya. and written as some, let me put it in my chat. So it is known as Sankhya Yoga. So it is made up of two syllables. You see the two syllables. One is sam and other is kya. Sam means equal, right, balanced, perfect, lot of meanings. And what is the meaning of kya? Knowledge, wisdom, right knowledge, right knowledge that delivers you from the suffering. It is Sankhya. So majority of the teachers, they go to dictionary and they say, oh, Sankhya means counting. Sankhya also means counting numbers. And that meaning is also right. 2 plus 2, 4. 4 plus 10, 14. See the orderliness. It is a right knowledge. So it points out the counting. You go on counting how many hands you have to. So counting is right. So right knowledge. So it points out the Sankhya. It is a metaphor. The way that counting is orderliness, the same way our knowledge should be orderliness to bring an end to the suffering. Sankhya Yoga. We have uh, we have a Sankhya Sutra. Yoga Sutra, you have a Sankhya Sutra. It's a fascinating book. It also contains sutra. Through the knowledge, through the understanding. So what is that? That the teacher is teaching you and you are applying there and then, and you enter into the mindfulness state just by listening. Majority of the principles, not majority, I would say, Patanjali has taken fundamentals from the Sankhya Yoga Sutra and he added into Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Keep smiling. Be aware. My eyes are looking at all of you. So, how long it takes to complete Gita? You start Gita, but and continues until death. Why? Every time you study, it gives you another wisdom to live in that absolute existence, consciousness, and will. Purpose is not to complete Gita. What is the purpose of studying Gita? Is to awaken. Leslie, is to awaken to that inner peace and happiness. So, what happens when you get a taste of it in your head, in your mind, in your life? You don't leave it. Perhaps I've studied 20 times, and every month I pick up only one chapter. I read it and I study, and I said, "Oh, let me know it." And every time I study, I get something new. What we think. Now, come to the Sankhya Yoga, basically. The Sankhya Yoga Sutra starts from verse 11 and then it continues. It gives a very deep insight into our own personal, professional, social life. And it says how to deal with these small problems, which is made so big by our crazy mind. It says that in the intellect there is a wealth. You see that how it is aligned. Yoga Sutra talks in a different way. And Gita talks in a different way, but they talk of the same principles. That is the beauty. So, what it says, you have a treasure in the intellect. What is that treasure? That treasure is discernment. What is discernment? Huh? What is discernment? You see, the milk is pure and the water is pure. When you mix both of them, they become impure. How two things pure, when they are mixed up, become impure? What is the logic? How do you understand? What makes impure? Because something entered into the purity of the milk. It is a mixture. So when we separate both of them, then we see both of them clearly. My false nature is mixed up with my real nature, and that has an impurity. So when we separate real from the unreal, that is known as the process of discernment. When the discernment practice can take place anytime, all the time, 24 by 7. So our Arjuna, who is suffering from lot of problems, he says, I heard many a times, Master, my friend, Krishna, you are talking about the real self. Now the time has come in my life. You see, that Arjuna, who is a seeker, is a disciple, is a friend of the Master Krishna, never thought of doing yoga. He was living with, friendly. Every day they used to meet for a cup of tea. In those days, tea was not there, but I'm just metaphorically I'm explaining. Until that intent, until that spur or a spark enters into your intellect that I want to know my real self, nothing will happen. Teacher cannot do anything. So for Arjuna the seeker, the time has come. He says, now, even in the midst of suffering, I want to know what is the right path, what is right and good to me. So when you ask someone to give me the knowledge, you become humble. If you are not humble, knowledge cannot be given. Humble means what? Now your mind is open. Now your mind is ready to drop what you have learned, because what you have learned is not helping you to solve the problem. Huh? I always tell the story when the couple comes to me for guidance and coaching. I simply ask one question: who is more intelligent out of the two? And if the wife says, I'm more intelligent, so go back, solve your problem through your intelligence. Why you have come to me? Need not to pay me. So when in that intellect you have a spur, you have a spark, I want to know what is right and good because I don't realize what is right and good for me. That is why I am suffering. That becomes a suffering yoga. And now we are coming to Sankhya Yoga. Getting it? See that? So, what happens from today onward in your life? Any stress that you have, remember Gita, that I am not following what is right and good. I have to rethink. I have to seek the help of a teacher who knows what is right and good. Gita starts in your life. Why? There is a solution of every problem. And the beauty is that there is a solution of all the problems that you can find in Gita. Don't take a decision in a haste, in anger, in reaction, in blame, in complaint. Not only you destroy your life, but you also destroy the life of others. Sankhya Yoga, orderliness, right knowledge, right knowledge. So you see that when you have that suffering, and at the same time, the intellect wants to know what is right and good. Because I do not follow what is right and good, that is why I'm suffering. That attitude makes you a seeker on the path. And the seeker always succeeds. Seeker always succeeds. And this Gita covers almost everything. Almost everything. It is a summary of more than 3,000 texts. You'll be surprised some of the verses were taken as it is from different Upanishads. It's known as pleasurism in our country. So our masters used to do these things, frequently. They used to teach you the same principle. They are universal. They are revealed truth. So they are revealed truth. It means you cannot own those principles. You don't have a copyright. You cannot become a best-selling author by explaining these principles. You see, the total entire. So Gita is a book of self-discovery, no theory and practice. No theory and practice. That to be understood. Then we will pick up couple of verses. What does it mean, no theory and practice? We learn from the science, and then we say this principle applies to yoga. Why this principle should apply to yoga? Why not the principle of yoga should apply to yoga? Now tell me, are you present before me as a theory? No. You are live, conscious human being. Why you are studying Gita? You are studying it to study yourself. I'm stressing again and again. So where is the theory? Where is the practice? Are you theory? Am I teaching to the theory? When I go to a science class, I know what are the manuals of a smartphone, how the smartphone is manufactured. I have not seen it. It is not in front of you. That is what the theory is. Did you understand that? Don't create a misconception. Understand that. Taking you a little deeper. It says Tvam Pad is a specific term. Tvam Pad means I'm talking about you here and now. You are a seeker, right? Then there is another term, Tat Pad. You will not find in Gita, but there are other references. Tat Pad means real self. And then there is a third word, Asi Pad, means, now see that, you are a seeker. Seeker is not the real self. Second point is the real self. And third point is identity of you as a real self. That is the journey. What is the identity? My identity that I am absolute consciousness, existence, bliss. Seeker is gone. False nature is gone. I am living into that peace and happiness. Did you understand that? 3 points. I am as a seeker. Do I recognize it clearly? Journey begins. Then I discover real self. I have discovered it. Now what happens? The seeker is gone, the false identity is gone. Tvam pad. So we are going to understand tat pad now. Tat pad means what is the real self in couple of the verses. Couple of the verses. Huh? Couple of tat tvam pad. Now see that what master, our crazy master says. What crazy master says in the 11th verse. First we will read it as it is. And then uh, asocyan anavosocha tvam pragyavada na bhashase gata sun agata sun chananu sochanti pandita. We will recite together a couple of the most famous verses. So now what the master is saying, that needs to be understood in this verse. The blessed Lord said, who is to be grieved and for what? Why you are grieving? Why you say that you are suffering from stress? Why you are saying that you have an anxiety? Why you say like this? Master is answering. What he is pointing to the real self. Why you are suffering? Why you have an anxiety? Why you are blaming others? Why you are reacting to others? Are you aware? The master is saying, are you aware? Who is to be grieved for and who is not worth grieving? The only one thing we should be grieving is our separation from the real self. Did you get it? That I am separate. I don't know. I'm living in ignorance. I don't know my real nature. That is why I am suffering. Master, guide me. Guide me to the path of permanent peace and happiness. This is the message in the this verse. No, he is pointing to the real self. Seeker is saying, I'm suffering. Come on. I'm suffering from anxiety. So again, go back. Psychiatrist says, okay, I have to take your history. Did anything happen in your childhood? Here the master is saying, come on. Why you are suffering? Because you don't know your real nature. You see the inspiration? What the heck you are talking? Once you know the real nature, all your suffering comes to an end. We note that the teaching starts once from the highest level. That is the beauty of Eastern wisdom and yoga. What is that? I always tell my private students that I am teaching you the highest principle today. And in fact, I teach. Why? I have a liberty to go down. But if I start from the lowest principle, I have no liberty, no chance. When mind experiences grief and sorrow, it is more than the death of a human being. We die every day. So it's a metaphorically, this verse is written. We die every day. The moment I suffer from anxiety, stress, duality, conflict, blame, complaint. So this is what the master is referring metaphorically that why you are dying every day. And then he uses the death. What? Birth and death are sure, right? Isn't it? Who doesn't know that I will not die? When I will die is a different question. Huh? The master is saying, when the death is certain, means what? Agata soon. He is using a specific word. Tell me, are you a wise person? When the death is certain. Are you understanding that point? Gita has to be understood, digested, assimilated. When you know the death and the birth are certain, why you grieve for death? Did you get it? Understand. Be very clear. Think of it. Agata soon, since death is certain. And you claim that you are intelligent. That is why, I gave an example of a couple. Every couple who comes to me, I said, who is more intelligent? Tell me. Are you getting it? Why it happens. Now, he is answering why it happens. It happens because of delusion. Delusion leads to sorrow. Two words, very important words. In in uh, in Eastern wisdom, you will find that word in Patanjali in all the text. It is known as moha and shoka. Moha means delusion. Shoka means sorrow, suffering. There is always a suffering because of delusion. Remove the delusion from the intellect, sorrow goes away. Delusion. What is delusion? Moha. What is moha? Moha is what appears true is not true. How many of you are married, living with the honey? So we give a label husband and a wife, right? So a couple of you are wives. Can you show me where the wife is living in you? Prove to me where it is. First question. Second question, are you a wife first or a woman first? This drops the delusion here and now. I am a woman first. I am a man first. I become husband. I become wife. And what is moha then? I think, live, and act as a wife 24 by 7, which does not exist in me. It will take some time to understand, Brittany. Don't be serious, Brittany.
I don't know if my camera is frozen or not.
Yeah, it's a frozen. Oh, that is
Okay.
why. Yeah, that's another problem.
Yeah.
My eyes have deluded me. You see, that is another delusion.
But I do look
That's
really
another
good,
delusion.
so
So, what is that? This is the original root cause of sorrow. What is that? Delusion. We call it moha. It is a primordial ignorance. Patanjali says it is avidya. And what is shoka, suffering? Which is the primary or deep sorrow of separation from the real self. I am separated from my beloved, which is located deep inside my heart. That very separation causes the suffering. Is it going into your heart, head? Once it goes into your heart, it means delusion and suffering, moha and shoka. So, because I live in delusion, I have a suffering. My mind is dictated by the delusion all the time. It strips the wisdom from the intellect. Then I do not know what to do, how to do it. Then I continue doing what is not good to my life. and then I continue to suffer. There is a chain reaction. What we have studied today, law of karma, I'm gone. Gita says, break this. Break this. Now see the beauty of another verse. That is the 12th verse of the second chapter. Those who carry any book, but see that what he says, what Master says. That real self has no birth and death. Start with that belief in your intellect to discover the real nature, to go to the ultimate of yoga. What he says, it is not true. Master said at any time I was not. So what whom he is referring to? Real self. Nor you. Nor is it true that any of us shall ever cease to be thereafter. Means that real self is a consciousness. Can you tell me when the space will die? Space will never die. The real self is pure consciousness, existence, and bliss. It never takes birth, it never dies. So he's, what I said? Tatpad. Now he's explaining about the real self. He's explaining about the real self, the guy who is totally suffering at this moment, who is crying, who is suffering from deep anxiety, depression, shivering, trembling. How do you express yourself when anyone comes to you with those challenges? No sympathy. You are suffering because you do not know who you are. That is why you are suffering. Natu eva aham jatu na asam natvam na ine janadhipa nacha eva no bhavishyam. Who knows? What a message the master is giving. Don't identify with your body. You are not the body. You can never be the body. In the first, he says, body comes and goes, like the clothes that you change. Now see that if your intellect is settled in that knowledge, where the suffering goes? Why the suffering? Because of the delusion. What is delusion? Because I claim I am your teacher, so you have no right. Add lot of things. You have no right to sit. You have no right to lie down. Lie down the way you want to do it. Who cares? Who cares? Why should I give a label myself to a teacher? Let me express myself. Why should I express? For the sake of happiness? So when I find the seekers, especially who can tolerate my listening, then I don't even care of the money. Money will come, I know. It comes. I didn't ask anything to the Kate and Lara. So understand it very clearly that I'm the real self. Can you remember this? Okay, even for just suppose, and then we will prove that we are the real self. This is what the master is saying. Now see that identity. Did I tell you? You are a seeker, so there are verses for a seeker, there are verses about the real self, and then the identity. So now we will see the 13th verse is talking about identity. Identity. What is that identity? Let me put it on the so that you can keep it and for your references. So this is, our talk therapy begins. What he says, Dehino asmin yatha dehe komaram yovanam jara tatha dehantar prapti dhira tatrana muhaiti. What he's saying, don't you know you were baby when you were born and baby body dies replaced by child body? Did you not know? Are you not wise? Child body die replaced by adolescent's body. Did you not know? No. Understand from that reference. If you translate, I have written the translation. But understand this point. Science says our body changes every 7 years. Every cell of the body undergoes a change. Every cell, including the blood, the carbohydrate, the protein, all the minerals, they undergo a change. Every 7 years, I have a brand new home. For which body you are grieving? See the identity? For which body? Which body? If you are 49 years of old, you have changed 7 bodies, totally different. For which body you are grieving? Tell me. Master is teaching. You see that? You see that? This verse ends the focus of the discussion on the death.
I didn't understand that.
Are you getting it? Apply that in your life. Begins to focus on the life instead of the body. The same lesson can be learned through the events in our life. The body that I lived yesterday is not the same body I'm living today. What it demands only awareness and appreciation of the fundamental law of the nature, that whatever takes birth has to die. It is changing. We have a metabolic process until 20 or 25. We have what we say in science anabolism, and after that, catabolism starts. That catabolism leads to old age of the body, not of me. Old age of the body, not me. Dehino asmin. Are you wise? Now Krishna is also pointing. Are you really wise? Go to the same example of a couple. I asked them who is more intelligent. Ask yourself, are you intelligent? Yes, still I am suffering. Then you are crazy. You are not intelligent. You are not wise. Beauty. That is the way the Gita has to be studied. Gita has to be studied. When you study the Gita with that, now see the another verse. Now, we are talking about the verse number 14. So now he see that he puts his logic. I'm not, he is not teaching you that believe me, I will take you to heaven. You see, we don't want to go to the heaven and hell. Why? Because we cannot see it until we die. And after that, who knows whether I go to heaven or hell? So there is no way to validate by reasoning. So, what you cannot validate by reasoning is not yoga, is not meditation. Forget about that. Don't study. Matra sparshah tu konteya sita ushna sukh dukkhada agam apayana anityahatan titikshas bharata. What is saying? The material touches, O son of Kunti. Son of Kunti means the seeker, giving cold and heat, pleasure and pain, things transient which comes and goes, these learns. Are you ready to endure that? Can you change the season in Michigan like Arizona? No, you cannot change. You cannot change the world. You cannot change the world outside. Are you understanding? You cannot change the world outside. What should I do? I should change myself. I should change myself. Why should I change myself and how I should change myself? This world does not give you suffering. The world itself is suffering. Take it for granted. Why it is suffering? Because in this world we have to perform our action. And action has a dual result. Action cannot have a uniform result. Any action that you perform, it gives you profit and loss, pain and pleasure, victory and defeat, success and failure. Understand that clearly. Live into that awareness. Honey, I love you, so honey also loves you. First event. Second event. Honey says, I don't like you. You get upset. You loved me yesterday. World is a change. It is changing. Accept it. But when you force, then comes the divorce. And with the divorce comes the pain. But you don't give a chance when you live in wisdom. You have not created all those stuff. I loved my car. How old is it? Is 50 years old. Is it running? No, it runs. It runs, 5 miles an hour. What the heck, you're talking about? I love. So people also appreciate. Look at this girl, beautiful girl, and she loves her car, which is 50 years old. Come on, that is not the way of living. Did I tell you the beautiful women? She's under almost 70. She was beautiful, no doubt, and she spent $15,000 on plastic surgery of her face. In those days when she could not pay for her mortgage. When I was there. No, teacher, you are my master. I love you. I'll pay you 50% less. So I said, did you pay 50% to your plastic surgery? No, they did not agree. So why you are saying that I will agree with you? You pay me double than that. Understand the nature. You are already free. This is what this verse is saying. What he's saying? Now he's identifying. I am as a seeker with my real self. Oh, real self, I am real self. Come on. Now I can live into this. Look at the another verse. What is that? Yeah. That's another verse is quite good. Good. So this is the verse number 22, second chapter, 15th verse. Now, what he says, it is eye opener, no, mind opener, you can say. What is that? Man, whom these do not trouble, not pain. Oh, lion hearted. Now you see that? The teacher is guiding the seeker, the guy who is stressed. So, how he is addressing? Lion hearted among men. You are a great seeker. Come on. The firm and the wise, who is equal in pleasure and suffering, makes himself for freedom, for immortality. Mortality. Yam hi na vyathanti eta purusham purushrava sama dukkha sukham dhiram cha. Who is wise? Who is equal in pain and pleasure? Leslie see who is equal in pain and pleasure, and then you fight the battle of life. How you can become equal in pain and pleasure when you do not blame anyone outside? Do you see? See the link. See the link. Why I am blaming others? Because I live in delusion. What happens when I live in delusion? It causes the suffering. See the validity, understanding of this. Are you getting it? Are you ready to be a seeker? Endurance in difficulties, trials, and tribulations prepares you a seeker. Did I tell you that majority of the research papers published, I went through it, 3 and 4 years ago. And these scientists have concluded that those who live in chronic mental challenges, their IQ goes up to almost 35% more than the ordinary healthy people. How many of you are healthy people? Your IQ is very less as compared to those who are suffering from the stress. That is why the psychiatrist and psychotherapist claims, why you are rationalizing, why you are explaining me again and again. Those people having mental challenges, they often complain that, you see, doc, you don't understand me. Let me explain to you again. And researchers have found out that their IQ goes up. We don't need an IQ. We need a simple awareness and understanding. We need not to increase our IQ. What he says, if you blame someone, it means your mind is outside. You have a strong identification with what you are not, that is causing the delusion, and the delusion leads to the sorrow. Drop it. Another way, become aware of the pain and the pleasures coming from the world outside, and ask your intellect to see how you can endure, how you can stay in equanimity. That becomes yoga. We will understand there is another definition of yoga, samatvam yoguchyate. Equanimity is yoga in Gita. Means what? Cultivation of a right attitude is most important in our life. You see, when I start guiding people slowly, and if they continue with the five or six sessions, they realize that I have to shut up my mind if I have to blame and complain about any of my near and the dear ones. You are giving a space to the mind to learn who you are. That's another point. You're already giving a space. Otherwise, your mind is already filled with, I will go to this guy and I will blame and complain about my honey who made my life crazy. No, you made your life crazy because of delusion. You are responsible for it. Are you ready? then I can continue. If you are not ready, go to those great experts who gives you pill and sedatives. For some time, they will put your brain into anesthetic so that you cannot think. It's a temporary relief, and again, you start thinking the same way. Another point that is mentioned here, the sorrow cannot be the cause of any sorrow. What it means? Just as the joy cannot be the cause of any sorrow, so the sorrow should not be the cause of any sorrow. Did you understand that? Then, the moment you think in it, mind is clear, intellect is clear, and you say, okay, I'm ready, I'll find the solution. Sorrow and the joy, pain and the pleasure are not our properties. They do not belong to us. We should not identify with them. If we allow them to rule our life, what will happen? It will be a series of ups and downs. We will have a very bumpy ride in my life. This is the message. So, what the master says, dhiraha. The master uses the word dhira. Dhira means you are poised. You are relaxed and calm. You are thinking of the problem. And then you realize the problems live in the world. They do not live in you. They live in the world. They do not live in you. You are calm and poised, my fine. Brandy, you see, awakening takes place inside man. This is what the Gita is. Let us pick up another verse. This is another. You have to contemplate on this verse at least this week. I love this verse. This is number Asi Pad. Asi means me identity. Now he's asking to identify with the real self. So what is the message in this verse? Na satah vidyate bhava, na bhava vidyate sat. Ubhyo api drashta antatu anyo tatadarshavi. That which really is cannot get out of the existence. What it means? What exists forever will never come to an end. And which has a temporary existence cannot live forever. Did you understand? Are we born husband and wife? Take the same example. The moment you were born, you became wife or husband? No. So that label of husband and a wife is impermanent, is changing. Will it remain forever? No. It will not remain. What remains forever? So the master says it is your real self. Your nature is pure consciousness. You will remain forever. And because you remain forever, why to worry? But why you worry? Because you claim that you are a permanent husband, you are a permanent wife. You are a born husband, you are a born wife. Just an example. In the ultimate analysis, this is how we shall all one day should view life. That which is unreal will simply not be our concern at all. Don't be concerned what is unreal, as we will actually feel that it does not even exist. So you mean to say I should not live as a husband and a wife? I'm not saying that. Don't distort the understanding. Where it says, the moment I am before you, I will act as a teacher. And once you are gone, the teacher in me is also gone. What it means? I play my role when it comes. I play my role in peace and happiness, in love and wisdom. It comes and it goes. What it means? You are before your honey. Play your role of a honey without any ego, without seeking the fruits of an action. So you are happy, you make others happy. Even if others does not become happy, you are happy at least because you are performing your role. So performing your role is a serious thing. I need to be aware. I maintain what is my role in the society, as if in personal, professional, social life. I play my role. So when I say play your role without identification, that is ego, without seeking the fruits of an action, without entering into delusion, that is the summary. And then what happens? Now take it lightly. With that understanding, the way the Hollywood actor performs its role, he does not take that role to his house. Getting it? Titanic. He does not take his role to the house. Otherwise, we consider the role we play is real me. That is the biggest problem. That is delusion. Delusion leads to sorrow. Nasato vidyate bhava. That which is the real existence will never die. And that is with unreal will never stay forever. What will never stay forever? I'm husband, I'm wife, I'm rich, I'm poor. All these are different roles. Let it come and go. Take one more, and then we will say. Now, Master says, you see that? That is how we understand. He says, do you have an intellect? Yes. Can you separate what is real and unreal? Yes. Then ask yourself, why are you suffering? I'm doing it. I'm free from suffering. Here and now. Not theory and practice. John, it's not science. It is Eastern wisdom. Never ever think that when you are learning and listening, okay, let me note it down, it's theory, and then I will do the practice. What? It is science, modern science, objective reality. Subjective reality, here and now. So what this verse says. Know that to be imperishable by which all this is extended, who can slay the immortal spirit? Once I know that I am the real self that cannot die, who can bring the death to me? Means what? Silently he is saying, come on, you are not the body, mind complex. What you think you are not. What you claim you are not. You are your real nature. Discover that real nature here and now. How? By dropping the identification with what dies. Avinashi, tu tat vidhi yena sarvam idam tatam. Vinasham avyasya asya na kashtit kartum ahanti. Imperishable. You build a skyscraper and demolish it. What happens to this space? Nothing happens to the space. It is the same water that appears as a wave, foam, cloud, tsunami, and storm. Does anything happens to the water? It's simply water. Do you see that? It is simply a water. We always give an example in our text. Example is of a clay pot. Clay pot. Take this, what I have. Yes, take a plastic bottle. It's a bottle. Bottle. Now I want to find out from where it is bottle. Is bottle here? It is plastic. Is bottle here? It is plastic. Bottle here at the bottom? No, it is plastic. Where is the bottle? Show me. Show me where is the bottle. It is all plastic. It appears as a bottle, but actually it is plastic. Can I say that? It appears as a Lex, but you are real self. It appears as a brandy, but you are real self. It appears as a John, but you are real self. This is the masses. It appears as a Kate and Leslie, but it is real self. It appears as a beer guy, but it is real self. Look at the beauty of the masses. So you see that? So in this chapter, we will understand how to sharpen this intellect that helps us to discover our real nature. And, many people write, I have removed all those adjectives. They write yogi, yogi brandy, yogi K. No, I removed. So who actually is a yogi in real life, in a real sense? So the second chapter gives you a sense of understanding. You see, Gita is in the second chapter. Second chapter, no. I remember, Neha Vikramana Shusti Pratyavayo na Vidyati Nahi Su Salapam Pasya Trayati Mehetu Bhayat. He says, Master says, a single step, you take only one step, and that real self will take 1,000 steps towards you. You take only a single step through your understanding, through your knowledge in the intellect, and that existence will take 1,000 steps towards you to bring an end to the suffering. Well, it's 10:34. So, any question we will continue with?
Well, thank you. We'll see you next
Thank you. See you next week.